excited that you would be my guest, and I am very excited that you chose this as a topic.
I hope they don't think that's like too heavy.
No, it's absolutely fantastic for my life. The strobe light of intensity to like fluffiness is always a thing. If folks have not been a guest on my live, everybody gets to be a guest like practically once at least. But I always ask whether or not people want to do a topic or me suggest a topic. And Teresa's like, knew the formula in advance, like, oh my God, I have to pick a topic. And then boom, you settled on mental health and board gaming.
Yes.
I absolutely love this as a topic.
Cool.
Thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, no problem.
So to start our shenanigans, I love to ask people about where they started their board game journey, and then we'll talk about how this works into the topic.
Okay. So I started board gaming, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago or something. I had experienced like playing games at other people's houses before, but I didn't really own any. And my husband brought home, what was it? Forbidden Island. That was the first one we ever owned. And we played the heck out of it just on the floor of our living room until maybe like a year later or something. And we were finally like, let's try some other games, I guess. And then, we went into the Ticket to Ride and like all that sort of thing. And it kind of snowballed from there. It was just us playing games for a couple more years until we moved here like almost 7 years ago. And I went to a cookie exchange and met a total stranger. And she was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a board game group. Would you be interested in playing board games? And that's how I met my current group. And so we've been meeting for the last 6 years.
That is amazing. All right. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, 8 years ago is before the dark times. So
yes.
You had embraced board gaming before that. And you spent a year on the Forbidden Island. That is very interesting. How did Forbidden Island end up being the title?
I don't know. My husband found out about it. He's a big podcast listener. And so many of my hobbies started with my husband saying, here, let's try this. And then I get hyperfixated and it becomes my thing. And eventually it falls off for him. He still plays games with me, but he's not the one that's actively buying the games. I'm the one buying all the games.
Your journey is strangely close to Rosie, the cozy board gamer. Yeah. Her Jacob, I think, started this whole thing and gave us you to the universe. They did not realize that they were setting this wonderful force of nature out into an environment. Now, there's one negative thing in there since we're on a deep topic, okay? Mm-hmm. Your story and Rosie's story is not unusual because board gaming and board game media, for the most part, financially, is invisible to women on social media.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because my game group is entirely women. Except for my husband, who wasn't invited to game group for a couple of years. After
you had to see if it was okay to just sneak him in there.
We lost a couple members after a couple years, and then I was like, hey, there's an opening if you want to come.
Did you ask him, it's your fault you never brought anything to the cookie exchange, right? The cookie, you brought cookies, we could have snuck you in there earlier.
Mostly it was just so, it wouldn't make it weird when everybody came over to my house and he was just, hanging out on the on the outskirts. They were like, you can sit at the table, I guess, and play.
That I think is the literal definition of pity play. It's you I guess you can play with us. I guess it's your house too.
You don't have to go. You can sit down, I guess.
David has shown up. Some of the regulars have shown up alive. All right, so it is very, very, very important to let other people know, especially women gamers know, if they're not already aware, that their window into gaming is very different than what social media presents to their male counterparts.
Hmm.
It is the big boxes and brands of the world are paying for all your media eyeballs, Teresa, and they will not let board game media get to you without board game media paying as much as these other people.
Yeah, and it's happening though, whether they like it or not. Because the vast majority of my followers are women on TikTok. I've got almost 70% of my followers are women.
Woo! You are now number 2 by percentage of people that I know. Did
Yeah.
you know that? Do you remember who number 1 is?
No.
Jason Headley, Easy Cat, is
serious,
over
Jason?
90% women.
I think I missed that one.
You are at 70%. You are clocking in over Danny Standring, who's at 61 or 62%
Yeah.
women. So, yeah, you are in great company, Teresa. Good on you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
I'm so glad that like that's part of the reason I think I'm here on TikTok is the response from the females has been just really, really welcoming, and a lot more people I don't know, some other apps, I guess. I get met with that like, oh, I talk about a game that I really love, and people are like, oh, that game stinks. And I'm like, you didn't have to comment that. You didn't have to comment at all. Like, and on TikTok, people are like, they just either don't comment, they scroll, or they're like, I love that too. Share it with me.
that is another feather in your cap. You have curated an audience that behaves in a way that allows other people to celebrate a thing without having to deal with people poo-pooing the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in general you are super correct in the fact that uh like quality TikTok communities have that quality. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to yuck your yum. Maybe that's
Exactly.
not for me,
Yeah.
but I'm
It's
not going to yuck
fine.
your yum.
It's fine. We can all still exist.
Like please don't harsh my buzz. Please just don't do that. Like I get that this is not for you. I get it. It's not for you, but okay. Yeah, no. That's fantastic. All right. So, why did you suggest like 'tis the season.
Yes.
I love your Christmas sweater.
Oh,
It's
thank you. Thank
classy.
you.
Like it's not one of those ugly. It's like, hey,
It's kind of cute. I got a little Santa on there.
yeah, like girls bringing it. That's what I saw. I was like, oh my god, look at you, I'm so cute at that. But yeah. So why did you? What gravitated you to like gaming and mental health?
So, like I said, it's something that has been on my mind a lot, specifically this year. And so I actually had some like psychological testing done because I was trying to figure out why I think certain things or why I do certain things. And most of that testing, like the first hour or two of that testing, it was games. Like they were like, here's some blocks. And the blocks look like this. And then they were like, here's a picture, and I want you to make that out of the blocks as
Oh,
fast as you can.
whoa.
And so I would be like, blah, 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 blah. And then they would be like, okay, now do this one. Blah, 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 blah. And like I'm like, that's literally a board game. Like I've
Yeah.
seen that game at Walmart. Um, and so naturally, I was very good at this.
All right.
Like
So
they were
let's talk about two board gaming skills that you already mentioned. We're going to catalog these things as you go along. All right, Teresa, are you okay with this as
yeah, I'm
a
okay with
sub
this.
game that we're doing? So one thing that board gaming is a skill that teaches you to do that is mentally healthy is it lowers your social anxiety about interacting with strangers and makes it okay to interact with people you don't know. Like
Yes.
our socialization skills take a huge dive after college or whatever, whenever you stop organized.
Whenever you're not forced to be in the same place with a lot of strangers.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, no, like, God forbid you're in a creative area and everybody is telling them how horrible your childhood was in the workshop. And then now you guys are learning things about people that you did not get to ask for permission. I don't want to know that about you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you got to read this. I'm like, oh, God. Let alone that. So, the ability to continue to be exposed to new people and the ideas that they bring is inherently better for your mental makeup. It also provides you a resilience to when the natural tides of life cause your social circles to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have in your group and in your behavior a way to be able to recoup and find new people, because people, for no reason of their own, ebb and flow in and out of your life because of the tides of their life. And it feels personal because you might really care about the person,
Yeah.
but it is not personal. The person's on their journey, and everybody has that friend who they haven't seen in a while, but then when they see that person, they're like, no time has passed. Right?
Yep.
Who's an example of that in your life? Like,
oh, I have a friend that lives in Pennsylvania, and we only see each other like once every couple of years. Either she is traveling through where I live, or I am traveling where she lives. And we get together for dinner, and we could talk about literally anything. We don't actually have as much in common now as we used to, because our lives diverged. But when we get together, we know exactly, like, we know the topics that were always important to us when we were together. And that's the type of thing that we, like, still connect with. And we go out of our way to, like, see each other, which is amazing, because you don't have to. A lot of people could, like, very silently travel through your state and just not even say hi. But we go out of our way to do that, that's a good friend. That's a great friend.
it is. That's an amazing friend. And this level of socialization, have you been watching Kervin's content in board gaming?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kervin had some sort of near religious experience at PAX Unplugged, and
I've enjoyed watching his bromance
with Ben.
with Ben.
Like Kervin is like from Texas, now living in New England, and Ben's a youth pastor from Chicago, and I do not exactly understand what the chemistry that's happening, but I don't need to. Like, the connection and the joy is real. This opportunity to meet new people who will enhance your life is the positive mental health skill that we're talking about, right? And that's going to lead us to another thing about feeling connected to a larger audience or being seen. Or we're going to talk about third place theory, Teresa.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to do it now because the second point that you mentioned was you're picking up actual skills, like cognitive skills, like, hey, it's Pat. You're picking up skills that the board game is teaching you.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more about these tests and some of the skills that you were like, oh my gosh, this is this game, this is that game.
Yeah. So there was that one. It was a lot of blocks. And as the test went on, it got more advanced. So, like, originally there would be like lines traced around like individual blocks, so you knew.
Was this your like entrance to Mensa, or what kind of test was this?
No. I've been like struggling with just my own stuff, like, and I was like curious, just like, I don't know, like, what's been affecting me. And so it was technically a test for ADHD in adults, and I don't know. I don't think the results were good. I don't think the results were as solid because it was weird.
Okay.
And I spent $500 to do it, so I feel like I'm out $500, and I still feel like I have ADHD.
I feel it's our gain. Number one, Teresa.
Yeah.
Number two,
hi, Rosie.
You're in a new field. Like, this area is like what we call in one category of neurodivergence and another thing is a thing that is going to be split out to more and more groups as we get more insight and knowledge
Yeah.
about this kinds of stuff. Often I let people know, and I think Becky, Rabbit's Becky,
Hmm.
is the only person on board gaming TikTok who's gotten experience that I have a level of competency depending on time and place in the day. Like, I am not blessed with the ability to be the best version of myself at all times. It's just not in my formula of who I am.
Yeah. So what happened was I went in looking for an ADHD diagnosis, and what I came out with was a diagnosis for severe anxiety. Which I already knew that I had anxiety, but she was like, "No, you don't understand." You have severe anxiety. She's like, it affects you in every single aspect of your life. And I said, yeah, well, I'm like, I'm a little tightly wound sometimes. But now that
you're
she's like
gorgeous
said that
and
to
fun
me,
to watch, and your content and insightful. And you've been a lovely guest so far. I don't know if that helps or makes things worse, but
thank you.
seriously.
Yeah, I do a lot of things that scare me. So I'm like, but I'm super apprehensive about a lot of things. And they were like, yeah, so it literally affects you in everything that you do, way more than it affects like normal people.
Oh.
And so part of the thing about ADHD I thought was funny was she was like, oh, you didn't see any like loss of focus or whatever. And I was like, that's because my autism told me to hyper focus because you said that was the rules. Like, you said to pay attention and do exactly this as fast as you can. And I'm like, if you give me rules, I will do them. That's what I do.
That's
But if you left me alone for 2 minutes, I would lose focus completely.
I understand that. Let's take. I want to circle back to like special interests, hyper focuses, and following the rules. But I want to take a moment because the chat has been amazing.
Yes.
And I want to talk about. DG wants to talk about social deduction games.
Mhm.
That is, DG, that means I have to have some social skills to be able to socially deduce, and I am not blessed with a face that's trustworthy. Social deduction games have taught me that I should be eliminated first.
I usually figure out how to get eliminated first. I'm like, I'll give it to you. I'm out.
And then board gaming social skills like Meeple House games. If you're regular to the live, you understand that I interact with the rules of our discourse with an agenda. What we're going to talk about is what I need to connect with somebody else, right? Like, if you caught me like off the street, Teresa, and you're like, hey, Seppy. And I'm like, oh, why is Teresa here? I like her, but I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to be weird now.
Yeah. I actually sent an email after Gen Con to a content creator that I had met in person for not necessarily the first time, but like the first time that we had a conversation in real life. And I sent an email afterwards saying like, hey, sorry I was weird when we met because I was working for a publisher as I usually do. And so I was like hyper focused on just that, like the merchandising, the teaching, the talking and everything. And so every time we like interacted, I was like, yeah, okay, hi, bye. I can't make eye contact. And I did not want to do that, but I did do that. I can't control it. I wanted to be like, hey, I love you.
With the being variable levels of mental skill or prowess and various levels of anxiety myself, mine's a little bit more PTSD and some other stuff going on because PTSD also mirrors some of the things that you've been talking about. So as we overlay like genetics versus growth versus like what are these kinds of things, this comes up. I have to apologize all the time. Like, I'm not a person who gets to be, I don't understand how I survive cancel culture, right? Like, I feel like I'm just like Jason Headley. I'm like one step away from being canceled at any one moment.
Yeah.
Except for I'm not good at any of the stuff that he is. They're like, I'm talking about end of the line, and I'm like, I'm glad nobody has a copy of this because this has some highly questionable stuff. It is literally a game for awful people. Like I wrote a game for awful people.
But that's the type of game that I always find interesting when it comes to like specifically this topic. Games that cause or give you a venue to act out something that you would never do in real life. Specifically like, oh, a push your luck game. Like I'm not a big, I'm not a big gambler or anything, but if there's like a push your luck or like a bag building game, I will bust every single time because there's no danger in doing it in real life. If I went to Vegas, I'd lose all my money.
Okay, so that's so weird. And understanding where you are in that process, like Teresa, you and I seem like built on that same throw model. It's actually the losing that I like.
Yeah.
I have actually gone to Vegas, and when reality comes back the way I think it should, it feels good. It's like, oh, I lost $500. Well, that's what probability said was going to happen. I'm glad exactly. That works.
Yeah, or there's like a lot of that strategy in games. DG or somebody was talking about social deduction games and how they teach you to read people. But I mean, it's not just social deduction games. It's any strategy game. There's one, if I'm sitting around the table and I'm trying to hide what I plan on doing on my next turn because I think I got a really good option. And two, you're also trying to figure out what everybody else is going to do on their turn. So, like you're always analyzing people.
It gives you permission to really look at someone and to question somebody's motivation, right?
Yes.
And it gives you like permission to lie and be awful. And that can be exceptionally cathartic. All right. So we talked a little bit about being on the spectrum. And one thing that ended up coming up, if you have friends who are not neurotypical, realize a special interest can be a lot of things. And one of the special interests that a person can end up having is another person.
Yes.
This is very, very, very hard for people who are looking for making new friends or romantic connection. When you are neurotypical and somebody is neurodivergent and that neurodivergent person has a good time or for whatever reason, something that you guys do together or you become their special interest, that can be a lot for a neurotypical person.
Yeah.
And being able to have that discourse and ask, like, this is what's going on with me, I feel like is one of the reasons I was excited about this topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Like, hey, sorry I'm weird. I'm just gonna, like...
But see, if somebody comes out and says that to me, I'm like, you're my people. Like, I immediately know, like, you're my people. And I think, like, that happens, like, neurodivergence in general, like, gravitate towards gaming or this sort of hobby. It's really funny within my game group because there are both neurotypical and neurodivergent. And when we play party games, it is so clear how different we are. Because any games where it's like wavelength or whatever, where you have to like try to think the same as the other players, the neurotypical comes out real quick because I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And she's like, what you said doesn't make any sense.
I love the fact that Rosie immediately identified with the friend crushes.
Friend crushes, yep. That's like you meet somebody.
Yeah, I can't get enough of this person right now. We're doing this. Yeah. I do like neurospicy as a term too. Mm-hmm. I prefer that as well. I do not like to usually be the first person to throw that into a conversation, but yes, that is. I like the term a lot. Let's talk.
Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie, I love Rosie so much. So let's talk about the skills that you use. Okay, so this has come up a lot lately. All right, the things that I would consider that make me good at project managing and publishing board games. You know, all our titles, starting with this one, have either been on time or early. Okay?
Nice.
For Kickstarter people, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily unheard of, but it's very rare.
It's rare. It's rare.
Yes.
But the skills to be able to do that are very different than the skills you'll want for an interpersonal situation of any level of like friendship or
Yeah.
romance. Like in project management, people, when something is wrong, you have to relentlessly talk it out until that thing gets fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That is the exact opposite of direction that you need to go with your friends or romantic interests.
Yeah.
So, today's point, skills that you learn in board gaming can help you have other options. What is the phrase? When all you have is a hammer, all I have is project management skills. So I try to. Everything is a nail. I am
Yep.
trying.
Dead on.
Like Gabe has like dance and creative
Hi.
skills. He's got all these skills. Hey Gabe, welcome to the thing. Like, and he's just charming and to be around all this kind of stuff. He's got like, but what is an example of skills that you are glad that board game has added to your either cognitive toolbox or social toolbox?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I feel like I have a decent social toolbox, but because I work in retail and I have to deal with like 1,000 people every day. Um, but a lot of that time I'm masking in retail.
All right. So for folks who don't know, explain masking to us, Teresa.
Masking is just like behaving in a way that you think is socially acceptable. And that a lot of times is based on mimicking or learned behavior from seeing other people who do that well. And I have been doing that for 18 years in the same career. So
All
I've
right,
gotten
so
real good at
this,
it.
of course, is very important for the autism community, like pretending to be like quote unquote neurotypical, like, but it also applies to ethnic groups and subgroups. Like, this is literally the essence of being in the closet as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It is putting on a persona that you think is acceptable to that individual area. For folks who
Yeah.
don't know what masking is and how that applies, so go on.
Yeah. So, what I like about the gaming community is that personally, I've had really great experiences with it. My first convention, people would just see me watching a game and they would be like, "Hey, do you want to sit down?" So I've gotten really comfortable in situations with board gamers where I can drop the mask and can be interested and ask questions, and nobody like, nobody's grumpy about it really. So that's always
Or
been
you
really
can
good.
talk about something at the depth that you are interested in,
Yes.
right? One thing where like folks who are on the spectrum and folks that are ADHD, they can go all the way down a rabbit hole, like so deep down it that you're like, oh, okay, this is where we're gonna go. All right.
Yeah, sometimes I have to say, I'm like in my head and I'm like, that's not relevant to the conversation. You don't need to say that. Like, I'm like, that's more information than they require.
You are way more evolved than I am. I have already said it at that point, Teresa. I am like, oh, yeah, this, ooh.
Yeah, sometimes it comes out and then you're like, well, nobody knows what to say anymore. It got weird.
Oh my God, it's like we're the same person, Teresa. Oh my God. You have much better sweaters. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, like, and the other thing that like just skills that we've learned from gaming is just that one, being able to multitask a little bit. I'm terrible with time management, but in real life, but in a game, again, I love a big strategy game, and sometimes that's
Okay, you can't just say that and not name a couple of your favorites.
okay. Like, what do I got up here?
No, what are you playing
I got
currently that's
Carnegie,
your hotness?
Barrage is a
What do you
favorite of mine.
Yeah, what are you currently playing that's the hotness, and what is like your all-time
Oh,
favorite?
I don't know if I've got much of the hotness. Carnegie was came out earlier this year, and I've probably played it like 24 times or something. Um, And it's probably one of the bigger, crunchier ones. The one I can never get my friends to play with me is Dracarion because it tends to be long at a full player count. Or Feudum. I really love Feudum. But nobody's going
Oh,
to
you
sit down and
do
play
like him.
Feudum with
Oh
me.
my God, Feudum is so deep.
I love
Oh my
Feudum.
God. Yeah,
And it's
that's
hard to
one.
explain to people. No, and then people are like, "We're doing what now?" And I'm like, "Do whatever you want. Just
Yeah, no, Feudum is one of those. Maybe I need to go to a gaming convention to play because of all those people have signed up and they're like, yeah, we're
yeah,
doing
like they're
this.
in it."
Okay, so let's talk about positive mental health behaviors that gaming sneaks you into that you don't realize are positive mental health behaviors. Okay?
Well, let's talk about being able to accept a loss.
Yeah, that
Not
is
even
really
just the
good.
loss of the game, but maybe the loss of something that you've been building up towards the whole game, or something that you've had your eye on it. But there's that loss, and then there's like the grander loss of like, oh, I did my best and it didn't work out.
This people have inner demons and inner demons about their self-worth. People who are poor, like I don't like to use the term poor losers, but people who take losing hard
Yeah.
and others kinds of things. And one of the two things that board gaming, one of the main barriers for people for board gaming is how it makes them feel bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the first gateway to that is like instructions and being taught something makes people feel massively bad about themselves a lot. If
Yeah.
people are, forgive the term muggles, like non-gamers, like turfs aside, I still like the term. If people are non-gamers, they don't have that regular exposure to like, okay, this has nothing to do with my self-worth that somebody has to teach me something.
Yeah.
Like learning something on the regular and separating your feelings from that is a great skill that you're talking about and transitions to this other skill, like a workplace skill, the ability to pick up a new skill and be amiable while doing it is a great skill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe not as much of a mental health, but getting along with others will help your mental health.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I
God.
mean, like, a lot of times, like, especially if you go to a convention or go to a game store for, like, a game night or something, and you sit down with a bunch of random people that you don't know just to play a game, that skill is super important because you don't know these people. You don't know, like, how much influence you can have. And it's interesting to sit down and kind of see how everybody behaves together, whether or not they are true to themselves and just come out with whatever they're thinking or saying, or whether they're just quietly observant of what everybody else is doing. It's so interesting to me.
That is true. So Batch is awesome content creator, also a regular for CMON at conventions. Batch is fantastic. Not as fantastic as his wife, the princess, but very fantastic. Batch asked what today's topic was, and today's topic is board gaming and the behaviors, positive mental health behaviors that it inspires in you. So, Teresa, I had mentioned it before, and I want to get back to this. Third place theory.
Yes.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Third place theory is a social theory constructed by I forgot the European, I think he's either German or Dutch, who was talking about like urban like development. Okay.
Okay.
But this actually psychologically plays out in like people's actual physical space as well as also their mental space. Okay. Third place theory says to feel like a complete person, we need to have a place that we can go to in our lives where we are not part of a hierarchy or a set of responsibilities. So when people go home, they're either a parent or a spouse. When they're at work, they're their position. Third place theory says, I need a place where I can just be an individual, one of the crowd.
Yes.
Okay, to feel complete. So I'm recognized as an individual, not my role or my responsibility or anything like that. To feel like I'm a complete person, I need this third place.
I agree that I need that. Sometimes it doesn't work out though. Like so I have a this happens a lot in the history of my life, is that I try to be that. I try to be the face in the crowd, and it I get noticed. It's the
Or
worst.
do you step up to do a thing?
Well, so like for example, I was in the military, and I distinctly remember when I went to boot camp, my goal, don't be seen. Don't do anything too right. Don't do anything too wrong.
That is the goal of boot camp.
Yes.
Teresa, you and I are literally the same person. I don't understand.
I was there for 5 days and I was made a leader.
I knew that was going to be the punchline. Yep. I absolutely knew.
They were like, you shine shoes a little too well. You march a little too well. Get at the front of the line. Amazing. No, it was a good experience. It was a great experience. But it's happened a lot. Like every other job that I've worked in is like, I'm too good at doing stuff. I don't like it. Now I work, now after like 18 years in my career, I'm like, let the young kids do it. Like, they're like, yeah, but you can do it. I'm like, I can do it. I've proven that I can do it. And now I am not being paid to do it. So
exactly. A friend of mine, she's like, in a vacuum, I will step up, and there's always a vacuum, so I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, like there's like, I know that I could do it. I don't need the extra stress. I don't need the emotional attachment of doing it. It's too much of an investment.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I don't need to lead. I don't need to lead. Yeah. I do need this to not be the biggest cluster ever.
Yes. I will be a great mediator.
If push comes to shove, I will emergency do this thing, but I'm like, oh.
You have a question, I will answer it. I will give you the tools.
I will guide you through this thing. Yes, but I do not want to lead this thing.
I do not want to be the responsibility, which is I am not the alpha gamer in the group.
Nathan has shown up. Nathan's local to Twin Cities and a longtime gaming buddy of mine. So nice to see you, Nathan. I hope your dog's doing well. Let's talk about positive mental health behaviors. All right. Now, I don't want to get into too much trouble, but there are a lot of great behaviors that people don't realize that organized faiths teach you to do these things without labeling their mental health benefits. Mm-hmm. Okay? So one of those is connecting, the feeling of being connected to something larger than yourself. When you feel like you're part of something, it brings out a better sense of well-being and also a better sense of behavior. Like, there's a real argument, especially in people dealing with addiction, that disconnection is the real enemy. When isolated, people can consume themselves so much, and they just continue to cut themselves off again and again. And so gaming allows you an avenue to if Board Game TikTok has proven anything to me, that there are people who want to be out there and be wonderful to each other. And then we want more people to come and be wonderful with us. And your time with us is as long, as short, or as wonderful as you want it to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? So, a sense of being larger to yourself. Okay? The next one is positive mental traits being reinforced by treats. Okay? So, when you do something well, and then you give yourself a treat, that is good for your mental health.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in particular, like the appreciation engine, one of the reasons why people who have a regular faith that includes like the appreciation, then food, the appreciation, then food, the appreciation, then food. Like the appreciation engine is good for your mental health. And then if you follow that up with food, right?
Yep.
I'm showing thanks, I'm showing grace, and I'm getting food.
Yep.
Right? And so I'm actually practicing a good mental health something, and then the brain is weirdly easy to trick. Like, the fact that it's so easy to trick is the fact that you could trick it. Like, that's like, it's self-fulfilling, like the entire thing. So, in this way, board gaming, especially if it has snacks, can also do this for you.
Yep. We're definitely we're candy people over here. We always have like big bags of either like gummies or the like minty lifesavers, the ones that like make the sparks in your mouth in the dark. Those are the snacks of choice at our house.
Nice. Everybody should have safe and celebratory foods.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I got a Christmas presents that I forgot about. I got everybody those like finger tweezers. Have you seen those?
Yeah, for Cheetos while board gaming.
Yeah. That was like part of everybody's Christmas gift. I have to get that out before they come over tonight.
Yeah, Kervin just showed up. He must have realized we were talking about him, so that's great. Kervin, we were talking about you as a positive mental health example and how your bromance with Ben is really an inspiration to all of us. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So, let's see. Obviously, without saying, board gaming is a set of skills that you improve on again and again. You don't start with feudum.
No.
No, you lead up to feudum after playing a lot of other games.
Yeah.
Right?
Like finding the things that you really like. That feudum was kind of like another like hyperfixation. Was the more I got into board gaming and the more I found out about all kinds of different mechanics and like sandbox games and things like that, I was diving like deeper and deeper into like, okay, what's next? Like what else is going to be the next challenge?
For board gaming, that's what's great for that personality. There is like usually always a next step. There's always a what's next.
Yes. Yeah, and you go through these like ebbs and flows. Like I got really hi Sonia. I got really into heavy games like really quickly. Like we went from like Ticket to Ride to like Zolkin really fast. And then I was just I was obsessed. I need like a big crunchy like worker placement, lots of decision making games and then my collection just transformed into all these big games, which is great because I was obsessed with them, but also my game group did not want to play that every single week. So then I kind of like drifted towards like lighter games, and this year I've like fallen into party games, ironically, because I didn't think I liked party games. I started a series on that where I thought I hated party games because most party games, you know, charades and things like that, they make me act out weird stuff. They make me actually uncomfortable, and that's not good for my mental health.
No, I don't like that.
I already feel awkward enough in real life. Don't make me act out something strange. Sometimes games like attack other people like in a funny way, and I'm like, I don't find those things very funny. I don't find silly jokes.
So I know I'm supposed to do this because I publish games, but also because I think this is a good fit. Our game processing might be a good social fit for you. It's actually one of two games in the social area controls genre.
Ooh.
So
I love area control too.
So you have these containers filled with cows and people that are getting processed by the aliens into meat or science or freedom. Okay.
Already loving that theme.
The theme aside, you're going to be terrible people in this game too, Teresa. But the theme aside, right? You cannot complete or you cannot get areas to the place that you want them to by yourself. So you have to get other people on board with what you're doing, and I've seen this game played two main ways: a really quiet, sneaky way where nobody gives up nothing, or a super wheelie dealy way where people are making because all you can do in the game is vote and take one of your voting tokens and place it on a place. And that place says, okay, that container, is it going to become meat? Is it going to be probed for science? That's where it's awkward. Or is it going to be free? And now the deal for it, Teresa, is everybody has different alien bosses.
Ah.
And the alien bosses overlap or contradict each other. Okay. And you start with 3 of them. And so everybody can sort of find some common ground. But then you have to vector in, if this person is helping me, are they helping themselves more becomes the question. And, right? Because everybody's trying, and so you talk about the table hey, I want to turn these hipsters into meat. Does anybody want a hipster burger? And people go, yes, please. They're no, I would like a beef burger. Oh, yeah. So seriously, maybe you and your group should try it.
I think I'd be into that one.
All right, maybe if you try it out, I will send you a copy for free.
Oh yes, I will do that.
Okay, so later message me where we'll do because I super enjoyed your time and I would it's got some mid-aughts and mid-teens jokes in it, so please forgive me. It was a time. But the gameplay is so elegant. I know we're not supposed to use that word, but the gameplay is very hey, all you do is take this token and you place it. That's it. That's it. And so socially, you have to figure out what happens.
Nice. I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm excited for you to try it out. That'll be fantastic. All right. So where were we on our journey? So we were talking about picking up individual skills. Board gamers are always in the mental health category of wanting to explore new things or improve on their skills. Whether or not it's taking a skill all the way to feudum, or if it is being better at an individual title, this idea that it's a win just to play, and it is my opportunity to shine again. There will always be another opportunity for me to shine, or I can do better. Being able to ask yourself, I can do better in a way that which is almost critical, but not really critical. Is encouraging. I can do better in an encouraging way, instead of, darn it, you should do better, Seppy. A minus, that's an Asian F.
No.
Thanks, Dad.
That's the exciting part about the replayability of board games is that, you're free to explore a different strategy. You're free to play it a different way if you want to do it better or if you just want to do it differently. And I will often, if it's something that that's not too long, I will often go into a game, especially when I'm playtesting, with a specific strategy. I'll say, I played it this way last time. We saw how that panned out. So let's go all in on this other thing this time. And
I, just like the Vegas, I will lose hard. Yeah. As long as I feel like I got to see under the hood of the game, what makes it tick, why is this fun? Or why is this fun for me? I will lose so hard. Oh my God. Whew.
And is it still fun? Is it still fun if I choose something totally different? Because at some point, you never know what people around the table are thinking. Everybody else is going to do something unexpected, something different, some sort of different strategy. So
except for that one player that who always does the same thing.
I have my it's usually my husband. He's like, how do we win? Okay, and what's the trigger for the end game? And he tries to trigger the end of the game so fast that nobody gets any chance to get any points. Like it doesn't matter if he...
That is a strategy. Oh my gosh. That is a strategy built against playing games against you, Teresa. That's literally the biggest compliment anyone could ever give you about your game playing skills. I'm not gonna let Teresa play Teresa's
Yeah, he's like,
game.
we're just gonna end it real quick.
We're gonna
You win or I win, but then it's over.
yeah, we're gonna race. I'm not gonna let you get to your stride because if I let you get to your stride, there is
Yeah.
zero chance.
Yeah. So, does the I can do betterness of games ever feel kind of disturbing in social deduction games? I see that in the chat.
A
Where
social
the thing that you want to do better
deduction.
is lie. And so the thing specifically for me is that I typically will veer away from games where I have to lie. Because I have a hard time lying in real life. So it affects me in real life to lie to my friends. And even though I know it's a game, it still feels the same. It still has that same effect on me, even if it's lying as a strategy. I will typically avoid games like that.
Okay, so one of my greatest convention experiences ever was in the aughts. I was at Con of the North, and I won the Cheaters Tournament in Classic Illuminati, the card game. Okay? And what you were saying about lying really, really struck home for me during this. There were a lot of like people lying, and I'm like, I'm not going to accuse strangers of lying, and I myself am never going to lie. But how do I win a cheaters tournament of the game? So, have you spent any time in Michigan?
No.
Okay. Michigan has a card game that they like, which is a pair chart called Euchre.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. I know about Euchre.
Okay, so Euchre has a small deck, and as a small deck, you can manipulate the crap out of this deck. And I spent much time in my youth being intoxicated and stacking decks.
Okay.
Okay. So when we got to the like cheaters tournament for Illuminati, I wasn't gonna lie because of that social awkward, that anxiety about it. And I'm not gonna accuse people of lying, right? But what I ended up doing was every time I touched the cards or whatever it is, I shot one into my lap. Okay. So at the end of the game, after the person, because if anybody catches you cheating, it undoes it and you have a massive penalty for the game, for the cheaters tournament. So what ended up happening is, and they even have a judge who is out there watching whether or not your cheating is legal. Like, and so at the end of the game, I look at the judge and I asked him, so is the game over? Are you declaring me the winner? And he goes, yes, I am. And I look at everybody else and they're like, yeah, you've won. And I got up and literally dozens of cards fall all over the floor. I couldn't get up. I was like nailed to that seat for like, because I had given myself all the best options. I had done all this thing. Like nobody realized the cards were disappearing. And I was like, okay, this is the thing I'm doing. That wasn't my skill set to win the that game, but I could not do the thing like most social deduction games ask you to do. So I had to challenge myself. I'm like, how am I going to win this game of liars and cheaters when I do not feel comfortable being a liar? It doesn't bring me joy, right?
My dog just knocked over a lamp.
So I'm like, but I have other skills. Yes, separating yourself from the world we live in to the world we're in is a good RPG quality. Folks who may or not who are on the spectrum sometimes also have a problem with RPGs. They can either be on one end or they usually have very strong feelings about them. They're like, I can go full immersion or I cannot.
This year I got into RPGs as well. And not like, I've still never actually played D&D, but, things like Alice is Missing, and most recently I got a 2-player one, from Button Shy, and it's called I Guess This Is It. And so what I've been searching with not only with these RPGs, but with board games now in general, are games that are designed to make you feel an emotion. because Alice is Missing, if you've ever played it or if you know about it, is designed to time out events and make you feel these feelings. And so many people, after they've finished playing the game, are saying, I was sobbing at the end of this game. And that's what made me want to play it. I was like, how can that trigger such strong feelings? And it does. Like, you get immersed in it, and it's only a few hours long, you know, but it's so cathartic because you feel for these characters, you are these characters, and then it's so real that you're experiencing this emotion.
That's amazing.
Even if it's sadness, it's so cathartic to just be like, we just had this experience together, and that was rad.
That is amazing. When you can, in a safe space, feel something that is a full range of emotion, that is what good art, no matter what it is bringing it to you. Because like good art is not necessarily beautiful, and good art is not necessarily fun. But that's still good for you in the sort of mental of like, I'm able to experience this thing and it shine a light on myself. Since you love the Deep Euros and you're like a game that teaches you something, have you played The Cost?
I have not played The Cost.
For folks who don't know, The Cost is a board game about mining asbestos.
Yep.
And the moral questions that you have to ask yourself to make money mining asbestos. Mm-hmm. And it is not played like a journey or a journaler. It is played like a cold, calculated euro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would actually love to play it.
I think the mechanics you do like feudum might be not as sparkly as the lesson for you, but you tell me. I would love to see you play the game and find out what your reaction to it. You are the right category for this game. You're like, because I've heard reports from people.
Where is it? I don't know where it is. So there's a plaid hat game. I think it's a plaid hat game. It's Abomination. Do you know about Abomination? It's a worker placement game. And the whole thing takes place after Mary Shelley's Frankenstein's monster, after he's gone away, and then he comes back in the game. Essentially, he's coming back and he's trying to do the unfinished business of, getting himself a person, a mate, the other half, his better half, essentially. And so what he does is he's going to the seediest doctors in the game. So each one of the players plays some sort of seedy character that is being threatened by him in order to create his better half. So you're essentially in the game, you're going around, you're accumulating resources that are like bones and muscle and body parts.
Maybe processing is for you, Teresa.
To assemble them and then roll a bunch of dice so that you can say, it's alive.
It's alive.
But my favorite character to play in that game is a psychopath. And literally, he has no moral compass. So doing the worst actions, like going down to the docks and getting the freshest body parts.
Oh, no.
No problemo for him. So, so when I read that character and I was like, this sounds awful. I'm doing it. Because I can't imagine how that would feel in real life, but I'm doing it in this game. I'm playing that to my advantage. If you tell me that is my strategy, that is what I'm doing.
All right. That have you ever played the computer game Slay the Spire or the?
Yes, I'm so excited that there's an actual IRL card game coming out for it. All
right, so I love Slay the Spire, but you've gotten to the choice where you can mug the guy and get like a curse card into your thing.
Yeah.
I never do it. I can't do it, Teresa. The guy looks so pitiful. I never ever do. I don't care if my deck strategy is curses. I don't even care.
He
But
has
this is the thing. I
feelings.
can't do it. I'm like, I'm not mugging that guy. I am not, like, I'm not doing it. I feel like
I've done it.
oh. All right, Teresa, you have been a wonderful guest. We are now into the wrap up. I feel like I could talk forever with you in and about the
Thanks.
stuff. And oh, what a cutie! We should set up a time for you to TTS with maybe the other folks. Like Gabe was interested in playing some Conquest Princess. If you were
I
interested
would
in that.
love to play Conquest Princess.
Your gaming group in particular is a target group, and you can help me with visibility because our game features all women characters except for one non-binary character as leads, and it is algorithm driven that games that target women or are accessible to women via the social media engine uses the word cozy, and our game is not cozy. It is a space epic. There's nothing like Barbarella as a statement of female empowerment is not a cozy statement of female empowerment, right? So yeah, that's the thing. So I would love to do that. But other things going on since we're in the wrap up. What else can people expect from you either this holiday season or going into the new year?
Well, we're almost done with my most anticipated games of 2024 list. So I think I posted number 4 today. So we only have like 3 more left to do. Very excited about that. Very excited about lots of new games coming in 2024. At the end of January, I will be at Tantrum Con here in Charlotte. And I have filled my schedule with teaching lots of amazing games. So if anybody is in the Southeast and they are going to Tantrum Con, you can sign up for me to teach you games. One of my favorite things to do ever.
Tantrum Con gets good reviews every year.
I have been every year since the beginning. And it's gotten bigger and better every year. This year, they've actually moved to probably like the second largest venue in the city. The only larger venue that they could move into, I think, is the convention center.
Oh.
So every year it sells out. There are more and more people coming, and there's more and more events every year, which I love. It's a really good one if you want to come and just play games. Like, there's not a huge, like, vendor hall. They do have one, but it's not gigantic. It's all about
conventions are starting to diverge versus, like, a Relaxicon versus a ShopCon versus a, like, anime, Star Wars, whatever, like, comic, like, they have games in them.
Yeah, like a fandom.
But, yes, the fandom cons, they are starting to do these things where you're
Alex, I'll see you there. I'm so excited.
Yay! Okay, well that's very exciting. I'm excited about your what you're looking forward to in 2024. Yeah, that and Tantrum Con. That's very exciting. One year I will figure out how to make Tantrum Con work with my schedule. But everybody, thank you so much for making time for the live. Next week, I haven't figured out our guest, but I am definitely going to do one next week. Things that people can look forward for Fight in a Box. We're obviously doing the content wrap up because we're doing a mini campaign for the stretch goals that didn't happen. So if folks haven't had a chance to fight hate by following the Kickstarter for Conquest Princess Night of the Necropede, please think about doing that. Otherwise, if you are into board game design, check our YouTube channel out where I give you a 15-second nugget every day to think about in your board game design called Board Game Design Tip for the Day. All right, Teresa, any last words for the live?
No, everybody just have a really nice, safe holiday season. I hope everybody gets all the games that they want, and I hope everybody gets to play them.
That's awesome. And thanks so much for being a wonderful guest. So everybody, as always, stay safe and have fun. Bye.
Bye.